kick this off. So first off, welcome to the Wix Partners webinar. Today we're going to be talking about building customer retention for your eComm clients. And today kind of what we want to cover and talk about is e-commerce trends during COVID-19, why customer retention matters, and we're going to have a great segment on that, and how to build an effective customer retention strategy. Also, we want to talk about creating that customer rewards program, and also how to package all of this customer retention as a service for your clients. And then, of course, we'll have a great Q&A session. But before we get into this, let's meet our speakers. We have Liat and Tim. Welcome, both of you. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, thank you.
Liat, let's start with you. Will you tell us a little bit about you and what you do at Wix?
Sure. So I lead e-commerce marketing at Wix. I've been with Wix about almost 7 years now. And my team focuses on everything to do with e-commerce, selling online, merchants, and also agencies who help their customers do e-commerce.
Awesome. So thank you. And Tim, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm the content marketing manager at Smile.io. For those of you that aren't familiar with Smile, we are a loyalty platform. We have around 30,000 customers across the globe. We're one of, if not the largest loyalty platform for e-commerce merchants.
So, and for those who don't know, you may be familiar with the Smile app, which is in the Wix app market. I think probably a lot of partners are familiar with that. So to talk about loyalty programs, we couldn't have a better guest for that. So let's jump in firstly. Let's talk, and this is something that I think that Wix is probably in a very unique position to really talk about these e-commerce trends during COVID-19. So what's a good place to start there? What have you been seeing?
Sure. So let's dive on in. 2020 has definitely been a year for the history books, and it's not over yet. And that, of course, is also true very much so for the e-commerce space. COVID-19 and social distancing have impacted every aspect of our lives, and they've influenced consumer buying behavior, which has resulted in hyper growth of e-commerce sales. So just in the first quarter alone this year in the US, consumers spent over $146 billion online. And that's almost 15% more than the same time last year. So we're definitely seeing huge growth there. Essentially, people are stuck at home. They need to buy all of their staples, everything that they need for their daily lives online. Here you can see some of the biggest growth categories based on the sales from the Wix platform. So we have over 500,000 stores selling around the world. And through their sales online, we've seen growth in all of these categories. I mean, things like the staples saw over 600% growth in food and groceries, obviously with more and more people shifting that buying online, but also in many other categories just to do with things that people need to run their lives while they're in the social distancing situation.
I have to say, this graph directly reflects what I would consider to be my buying behavior for the past 3 months, 100%.
Absolutely. I think like every time I look at it, I always say this is a great representation of life in quarantine, right? Like taking care of your pets, looking for things to pass the time. Yeah, for sure. And I think that, that's just a representation of how the year began, but we can already see that most shoppers are planning on doing their holiday shopping online this year. Obviously, people are still greatly affected by COVID-19. There's still a lot of stay-at-home requirements. As we head into the winter months, people expect more of an uptake there. So this is based on a recent survey by Google where 53% of people said that they would prefer contactless shopping, and most people want to buy online and then only have to pick up if they do need to come into contact with the store. So I think the biggest change that we're going to see is exactly that, the in-store sales, right? And this year, we're going to see the end of one of the holiday season's biggest shopping events as we know it, which is Black Friday. So that's typically when retailers launch their holiday season sales with massive in-store discounts. Obviously, this year, no one can be hosting huge in-store events. We've already seen some of the biggest retailers like Walmart and Target and others announcing that they will not be hosting any in-store sales for the holiday season. And all of that is shifting online. So we can just see how both retailers and consumers are preparing themselves to do all of their holiday season sales and shopping online this year.
That's huge. That's huge. I did not know that there was no Black Friday in-store sales.
Right, no in-store sales. I mean, it makes sense. People cannot have that many people coming in together. And then, you know, we can already see the uptake on the Wix platform now. So even in August alone, we're already seeing 490% year-over-year growth for online gift stores in monthly revenue. So if that's what August looks like, we can only imagine what October and November are going to be looking like this year. So this holiday season is set to be as busy as ever, but even more hectic when it comes to the demands on e-commerce. So many businesses need to throw out any old playbooks that they have and adopt completely new approaches for the holiday season. And that's exactly the opportunity for agency growth. These businesses need help, they need support, they need guidance. So the things that I would recommend that agencies focus on is, first of all, identify and targeting new industries or businesses who need to move online because of these changes, or who need to offer additional online options, even if that's just ordering so that you can come and do the in-store pickups from the stores themselves. And then thinking about different ways that they can support existing clients or new clients who need to adopt these new business models or offer new services online. And definitely helping clients prepare for this higher demand during the holiday season sales, both in terms of how they market and lead up to that online, and then also how they're actually providing those sales and fulfilling.
So you're right. It is a huge opportunity for growth, specifically for partners and agencies who may not normally offer that service. And there's a lot of conversation there. Tim, let's bring you into this. Can you tell us a little bit about, from an agency point of view, why customer retention would matter for their clients?
Sure. So the biggest thing is just that more retention means more revenue. That's kind of the bottom line. You retain customers overall, they spend more often, and they tell more people about the purchase that they're making so that they can spend more. So just in general, it means more revenue. You know, acquiring new customers costs 5 times more than retaining an existing one. So the likelihood of selling to an existing customer is actually 60 to 70% greater. It's 60 to 70% versus just a 5 to 20% chance of selling to a brand new customer. So it's just much easier to sell to an existing client than it is to have to bring a brand new client into your ecosystem. So to kind of spin off of that, it's kind of like, well, what is customer retention? What does that even really mean? And it kind of just boils down to marketing and your customer loyalty activities. Which again, that's kind of open-ended, marketing and loyalty. So let's kind of just dive into it and see a few of the different things you can do that have an impact on both of those 2 different areas. So first, you have to kind of look at the goals. Obviously, you need customers to commit to your brand if they're going to be loyal or be retained. Ultimately, the goal then is for them to become repeat customers. That's kind of the definition of retention, is that they're coming back again and again. And then that's also includes reducing churn. So you're not losing customers to your competitors, which that's kind of the other side of the coin then of, you know, they've become a repeat customer, they're coming back to you, which hopefully means that they're then not going to your competitors. And why you and your customers should actually care about retention. Like I said, it's just overall better for their revenue. You know, sales revenue is generally 20% higher for customers that are focusing on retention. The average customer lifetime value of retained customers is over 18% higher, 20% higher than ones that aren't retained. And those customers that are retained have that purchase frequency that's 14% higher than non-loyal customers. To kind of take that from just general retention to loyalty, your most loyal customers, they actually contribute more than 41% of your base revenue. They're 9 times more likely to convert than ones that aren't loyal. And the other big thing is that they're willing to spend more with your brand with basically every purchase. Obviously, if they're loyal to your brand, there's something they love about a brand. And so they're willing to add that extra thing to their cart every single time, spend on those higher quality, more expensive items because they're so loyal to those brands. You know, this quote is a great one just because it kind of sums up the need for retention. Without a dependable base of repeat customers, organic growth and longevity are impossible. You know, what thriving business do you know of that got successful and are continuing to be successful only by acquiring new customers? I can't really think of one, because all of the brands that are doing really well across e-commerce are doing it because they're great at acquiring customers, but they've also made it a main focus of their business to retain the customers that they already have.
That's a really great point, and I would absolutely have to agree with you on that. So, Liat, let's switch gears here. How do we build an effective strategy for retaining customers?
Sorry, just making sure you can see my screen.
We can.
There.
Perfect.
Sure. So I think that what you really need to do is get your clients to think like a D2C brand, a direct-to-consumer business. So D2C businesses are able to disrupt established industries and cut out big retailers by owning that customer relationship. They essentially take ownership of their most important asset, and that is their customer. And by doing that, they're able to improve their product, improve their marketing capabilities, and ultimately increase the lifetime value of every customer that they have. So, you know, and obviously not every business needs to be a completely D2C business, but I think there are things that you can take from that mindset and teach your clients, and things they can benefit from for every business. Because, you know, D2C businesses tend to be born in the digital space. So they're smaller, they're leaner, they're more nimble. They think of marketing differently, and they rarely focus on customer acquisition and retention. So there are a lot of elements that you need to think about when you're thinking about customer retention, and we'll run through some of the big ones now. So the first thing I would say is that in order to help guide your clients, you really need to get to know their customers really, really well. So I would analyze whatever data you have available to you, try to understand how their customers are behaving on the website. Where are they coming from? When are they coming? Which devices do they mostly use? What kinds of products are they buying? What are the buying cycles? And then I would also review how your client is currently engaging with their customers. So are they using email marketing? Are they using social media? Do they take any feedback from their customers, data that you can review, if it's surveys or reviews that they've received? And then once you've done all of that research, then you can really start to put together some kind of strategy for how you think they can engage better with those customers. So the next thing I would say—
Liat, can I ask you just one quick thing? When we're talking about getting to know clients, customers,
Sure.
What if they don't have any of this data? What's a way to maybe dig deeper into this? Because maybe it's a store that's just starting. How can a partner help there?
Sure. So I think that you definitely need to do the market research. You can look at things like similar brands or competitors and do some of the research on their customers. So where are their customers typically coming from? Look at what people are saying on their social channels. And I would also look at what those competitors are doing. So buy some of their products, sign up for their email newsletter, and then see what kind of engagement you're getting from them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a direct competitor. It could be brands that are in a similar space or who have similar values to your customer's brand, you know, who they aim to be like. So those are other ways that you can collect data, or do a small focus group of potential customers who your customer is aiming to reach. So anything that you can really just to understand that potential customer base and how you would best be able to engage with them.
Perfect. Thank you. That was a really good insight.
Sure. So I think the next one, and it seems like a really obvious one, but you'll find that this area is really often neglected by e-commerce businesses, and that's making sure that they really offer great customer support. So I don't think every business needs to offer 24/7 support, but you definitely need to offer timely support. And for me, like the best rule of thumb is making sure that any request or reach out by customers is being handled within 24 hours max. Certainly if it's coming from social media, people expect those kinds of engagements to be responded to really, really quickly. The other thing that you can definitely help clients with is helping to prevent some of the issues in the first place. So I think as much information and clarity that you're able to provide on the website in advance can really reduce a lot of frustration. So things like adding FAQ pages that answer the most common questions and issues that people have, making sure that you have really clear store policies for shipping, for refunds, for returns, so that people understand how those things are going to work. Definitely really clear information about any costs that are going to be involved. So if there are taxes, if there are shipping fees, make sure people know that stuff in advance. And then think about different ways that you can make it easy for people to have a conversation with the brand. So I love adding live chat on the website. I think it's a really great way to offer people quick responses to things they need as they need them, and avoid issues escalating into something bigger. I think if you have a brand that has some kind of community around it, then adding things like a forum or a way for that community to engage with each other and take on some of that support for your brand is definitely a great way to go. And then really just unifying all of the support around that. And a final tip is I always think that one of the best ways agencies can help is by getting a brand to kind of create pre-made answers to some of the issues that they might deal with, so that, you know, when their team or they themselves are having to deal with that, they have like a nice list of email responses or social media responses that they can just copy and adjust as they need them. So moving on to content marketing, I mean, obviously this is a huge topic in itself and we're not going to be able to cover everything here, but I think it's just about making sure that your customers are sharing any content that they're creating on platforms where their customers are, so that people are able to engage with that content. If they have an email list, make sure that they're sharing that content also by email or in their social media channels if they have those, really just making it accessible and top of mind. And also making sure that they're creating actual content, right? Not just promotional materials. So for customers to be able to really engage with the brand and develop a relationship, there has to be that additional value there for them. Content is always an area that's really, really difficult for businesses to deal with because they don't have a lot of time to be producing this content and they don't necessarily know how to go about it. So that's a place that an agency can bring a lot of value to a business. And then also teaching them how to, how to harness user-generated content. So if they have great fans of the brand, if they have great followers, then encouraging them to share and use that word of mouth effect on social media with unboxings or just, great customer reviews on the website, things like that. Then, of course, most importantly, you really want to make sure that you're personalizing all customer touch points. So I think I would do a full review of all of those communications, whether it's emails or offers that they're sending out, SMS marketing, all of that stuff. encouraging them to have member profiles on their website so that customers are able to engage again and again, and you start to collect more data about the customer as well as about their buying habits, which is going to be really helpful as you build out that retention strategy moving forward. And then here, the last thing I would say is also something that's important to note is not only what materials you are sending customers, but making sure that you're also excluding them from irrelevant materials. So like one really big mistake is, let's say yesterday I bought that amazing red dress on your website. I don't want to get an email today offering me 50% off that dress because I'm going to be really bummed out about that purchase. So make sure that you're also removing people from communications that aren't relevant to them. So this is a really important stat. So a lot of shoppers, here we have 55% of online shoppers abandon their carts and never return to the retailer site. So on this note, people don't necessarily abandon carts because they don't want to complete the purchase. Sometimes they get distracted in the middle of the purchase, you know, things happen, life happens, you get distracted, a kid needs dinner, whatever it is, and you just put your phone down and then you forget to click that purchase button. So setting up abandoned cart automations is a really great way to optimize that and, you know, re-engage those shoppers who were the most interested already. You have the highest chance of converting them. They liked your product enough to come to your website, to add it to cart, to get really far in the journey. So definitely turning on those abandoned cart automations is a great way to build up customer attention. And if you are an agency that has some social media savvy, then I would also recommend putting a Facebook pixel on the website, which will allow you to retarget site visitors as well as shoppers who abandoned carts and remind them about the products they were interested in the first place. For our Wix partners who are familiar with the Wix Facebook ads product, so if you are using that product or setting it up for your customers, so our algorithm will automatically do that retargeting for you. So you're definitely going to benefit from that if you're using that product. And then,
which, by the way, is a fantastic. If you have not heard of that, you need everybody look it up. It's literally. I think when we talked about it during the roundtable, we called it sorcery. It was really amazing.
It's a really, really great product. Like I recommend go and find the roundtable where we spoke about it. We have a lot of information about the product there. It's really worthwhile. And by the way, it's perfect timing to set it up now because that product does take a little time to build up all the data that it needs and to optimize the algorithm. So setting it up now is great timing to make sure that in the peak of the holiday shopping that it's performing at its best for your customers. And then finally, of course, 83% of Americans, and not just them, are more likely to buy products from a brand if friends or family recommend it. So we all know that we prefer to buy something that we know somebody that we trust was happy with. So here I think it's thinking about different ways that you create referral programs for your clients. So incentivizing their customers to share with their friends and families and bring you those leads. Anything you can do to encourage word of mouth marketing. So that can be social media campaigns or coupons if they share, or benefits if they bring more friends. So things that offer value to both your existing customers and the new customers that they're bringing to your customers. And then just thinking about content that customers will want to share and that helps share those great moments that they have with the brand. And again, depending on the sophistication of your customer, you could even think about teaming up with micro-influencers online to do that, because that's a really great way to drive traffic and get that word of mouth effect.
So we've talked a little bit about a retention strategy, an effective retention strategy. Tim, let's bring you back in here. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe creating a customer loyalty program for our clients, for partners, so partners can build this for their clients?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, referrals are actually a great segue into a full discussion about full loyalty programs, because As far as Smile is concerned, a referral program is part of a holistic loyalty program. You don't really want to have just points or just a referral. It works the best if you have every part of it. And when we talk about loyalty programs, everyone knows about them and everyone's part of them because they work. They've been around for, I think it's nearly 100 or over 100 years in some way or another. And it's really because they work. If you think about the biggest brands in the world and some of the most successful ones like Starbucks, like McDonald's, like Sephora makeup, they all have these loyalty programs now that some of them have them for a while, some of them are newer, but they are really core to their continued success. 73% of shoppers recommend brands that have good rewards programs. It can be that thing that makes customers talk about your client's brands and get excited about them. The average customer is part of 15 different loyalty programs. If you probably can think of some of the ones that you're part of yourself, whether it's, like that Starbucks or McDonald's, or maybe your credit card has a loyalty program, or some of the D2C brands might have referral programs set up. We're all part of them because they really do work. One of the benefits is that 37% of customers are actually willing to pay more in order to get benefits as well. Part of that loyalty experience is VIP tiers. And so customers are, 37% are actually willing to pay in order to get that extra bit of service or extra bit of feature from your client's brands. And part of that is that customers justify the costs in return for that status, that access to different things, that ease and access to better customer service. So to them, it's really a return on the investment. And so making sure that your clients have these really fully fleshed out loyalty programs can help make sure that their clients are engaged and keep coming back. Go ahead, Brett.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the numbers that you're talking about, it really makes sense, and it's like a no-brainer to engage in something like creating a loyalty. This is really interesting. It makes total sense, right? I get it.
Yeah, and it's part of the reason why it makes so much sense is because we all use them so often, and it's such a familiar thing. You don't usually have to really explain too much about customers for them to understand what your loyalty program is trying to do.
You mentioned Starbucks earlier, and I collect my stars, right? I redeem them all the time, and it feels so. It really makes total sense. So sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Oh, that's okay. So to kind of jump into how do you actually get one started? The thing you have to really think about then is, what is that unique selling proposition that your client has? What is it that they have that their competitors can't offer? So you can think about things like market trends, the customer buying behavior of your clients. Are there any expectations that they have, or how can your clients kind of anticipate the needs of their customers and try to build that into a loyalty program? The other thing you can think about is the scale. How big is your customer's customer base? They have 50 clients, they have 50,000 clients. What is the scale that you need to set up? Is it just, do you need to start with just a referral program to kind of see how things go? Do you go with a full, referral and points and VIP program right off the bat to serve all of their loyal customers? A few things that you have to think about too when you're setting up the program, it has to be on brand. I'm not sure if you've ever seen a loyalty program that just feels like it's slapped on and completely separate from the rest of a brand's aesthetic, but it really creates this disjointed experience that just makes you not really want to participate in it. And so part of that is it has to match customer expectations. If customers are expecting something that's really, luxury or VIP based, but it feels really cheap, and then it's going to, again, have that disjointed relationship between the loyalty program and the brand that isn't going to jive very well. And so part of that is making sure you have an emotional connection with the brand. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute here. But the biggest thing to do is to keep it simple. When you set things up, make it really simple to earn points, make it really simple to redeem points, make it really simple to use the rewards that they've redeemed. You don't want to have to try to explain things again and again and again, and your clients aren't going to want to have to try to explain things again and again and again, because the end customers just get almost like loyalty fatigued from it if they don't know what's going on. So to kind of build out then, okay, so you're starting a rewards program. What's next? So the first thing you have to think about then is that branding. How will the program align with your client's branding? You have to think about things, not just like the colors and some of the graphics that might go into it, but even how you name it. If you're just calling it the loyalty program, that's not really going to excite anyone or make anyone want to participate in it. Oftentimes we see brands using puns or alliteration or something like that to kind of make some sort of connection between the brand itself and their loyalty program. That's in the name of the program, the name of your currency for your points, and then if you're having VIP tiers, the names of the tiers as well. How do customers earn points? Is it just signing up? Is it social engagement? Is it purchases? And when you're setting up purchases, how are you set up the dollar per point, or sorry, the point per dollar spent? You have to think about all those things when you're building it out to make sure that it's actually going to work for your clients and be really easy to use and understand for their customers. What rewards or experiences can clients redeem? We often talk about having both transactional rewards and experiential rewards. So those transactional ones are things like, earning so many points and cashing that in for a discount or percentage off. But you can also, especially with VIP programs, you can do experiential rewards where maybe you give clients early access to different sales or early access to products, or maybe there's a private Facebook group or something like that they can get special access to. And some of those things don't actually cost your clients anything to set up. Like that behind the scenes thing. There's no, other than, shooting maybe a video or writing a blog post that's gated, there's no real cost to them compared to some of those transactional rewards that they can give out. And then with the tiers, that's kind of all part of it too, is how are you actually going to set up those tiers? Make them achievable, but not too easy. There's a concept called trivialization, where if the reward comes too easy, then it's almost not worth doing. I think there was a study where they were doing a survey and they asked some people, will you fill out this survey for a chocolate? And people said, yeah, for sure, I'll definitely do that. Why wouldn't I do that? And then they asked a different set of people, will you fill out this survey in exchange for a dime? And no one wanted to do it, even though the actual monetary value of the chocolate and the dime were very similar. Saying that, your time to do this is only worth a dime or a nickel or whatever it was, just makes people not want to engage. So it's the same with your loyalty program. When you set up those tiers and when you set up the value for points, you want to make sure that it's exciting and easy to earn, but not too easy that it's not actually challenging. And there's, especially as you have VIP tiers that it takes more purchases or more loyalty to actually get to them. You want to make it enjoyable and braggable to hit those tiers. So people want to, with Starbucks, they have those gold Starbucks cards when you spend a certain amount or when you reach that tier that they actually send out to you. And if you go on social media and on especially Instagram and search like hashtag, I think Starbucks gold card, there's dozens and dozens and dozens, if not hundreds and thousands of photos of people just showing off their gold Starbucks card. And so you want to create the same sort of delight with a loyalty program with those VIP tiers. So once you've set up a program, you've got it all ready to go, now what? So you actually have to promote it, obviously, or else no one's going to participate in it. And so the key here is visibility is key. You want to have your loyalty program visible and accessible in as many places as possible. So on your online store, your clients' online stores, put a banner at the top, have maybe a light box that pops up and lets people know that you have a new loyalty program to offer. Put reminders on the cart pages or product pages about different point balances that they can earn. And then another thing that's valuable is having a dedicated explainer page. Especially if you have VIP tiers, sometimes it's worth having a chart or a table that just shows customers how they can progress through the different stages. So having that dedicated page that they can go to see all that information is really helpful. You then want to include your loyalty program in all of your email marketing. So you don't just want to start sending emails out once the program is live, but you also want to do a teaser email to let them know that, hey, this program is coming. then you want to announce it when it's launched. When people start actually signing up for it, send out a welcome email to say, welcome to the loyalty program. If you're giving out welcome points, then you can say you've earned X number of points. And as you do different marketing campaigns, you can just kind of weave loyalty into those emails, whether it's, a Black Friday promotion or if there's a new product launch, you can include sections about your loyalty program in every single email that you send. And you can even get personalized with some of the information too. So if with your HTML emails, you can actually include some information about their specific points balances, or if they're a certain number of points away from reaching a new VIP tier, include information about that to kind of keep that loyalty program top of mind, especially if they have points balances, because then they know, hey, I have 5,000 points that I can cash in at X brand. I'll remember to go back and spend that later. And then finally, social media. Similar to email, you can kind of weave loyalty into every part of your social media, whether it's Instagram stories, or if people are redeeming rewards and there's UGC that you can promote. Creating a branded hashtag is also really useful. We've seen a lot of brands do that, where they actually have a branded hashtag specifically for the loyalty program. And then as people make purchases with the rewards that they've earned and post on social media, that all gets tracked for the brands to see, not just collect the UGC, but then they can also see kind of the return on their investment that they're making in loyalty, and seeing all of the customers that are actually engaging and enjoying it. Once you have everything live and the program is launched and people are engaging with it, you really have to be able to measure it to be able to determine for, not just for your own sake, but for your client's sakes, to know what are they getting out of it. Is it working for them? How can they make improvements? And so these are some of the different formulas for different metrics that you really should be tracking in order to make sure that the loyalty program is performing like it's supposed to be. Some of these you may be familiar with, some of them you may not. One of the ones that's the most important to really keep track of, to make sure that the program is performing right, is that redemption rate. All the other ones are kind of typical e-commerce metrics, but that redemption rate is actually going to show you how many customers are getting value out of the loyalty program, or if you're making different tiers too hard to achieve, or it's too hard for them to actually engage with it. So these are all really important metrics, but I think the one that's the most important there is that redemption rate, and that trickles down into that customer lifetime value. That's actually showing, hey, this loyalty program is working. Your customers are actually increasing in value over time compared to before you launched the loyalty program. Coming out of that kind of is, okay, so we have this program, it's live, people are using it. We've got BFCM coming up. What are you going to do to actually make it a useful part of BFCM? And one thing that we actually see is a lot of brands start the loyalty programs right around now in the early fall, so that it's off the ground and they have some traction before BFCM kicks in. So as you're approaching BFCM, there's these 4 stages or phases that you can kind of bring your clients through to make sure that their loyalty program has a really good return for them over the holiday season. So first you want to, obviously encourage shoppers to join the loyalty program so that they're in there. They have some sort of balance, hopefully, from joining, and that trickles right there into phase 2. We're making sure that shoppers engage with the brand so that they're building up that points balance, so that as BFCM comes up and the rest of the holiday season, they have a loyalty balance that they're ready to spend or even earn more on, so that they can keep using it. So that phase 3, make your clients' content shareable and incentivize referrals. Referrals are, like I said, part of that fully rounded loyalty program strategy, because it not only helps your existing clients by giving them something in return for making a referral, but it gets you those new clients, especially into your loyalty program as BFCM is coming up. And then phase 4 is continue to nurture customer relationships beyond the holidays. So loyalty programs in BFCM have, oftentimes it's like you build up this really big number of clients, number of your clients' customers. and then they have these big points balances, and then nothing really happens with those points balances. And so the trick is actually to use all of those things that we talked about with, you know, email marketing and social media, and embedding loyalty information all the way through the funnel to make sure that your clients are reminding their customers about their loyalty program after BFCM. If they've built up a points balance, reminding them to come back and cash that in, because that's just purchases on top of purchases. And it just kind of creates a loop where they just keep coming back again and again. So it's really important to get those customers during BFCM, and then make sure that there's follow through after the holidays so that they're actually using those points and engaging with the program after that.
So Tim, you kind of gave us some ideas as to how to start a loyalty program, some of the things you may want to put into it, even how to roll one out and how to measure it. It sounds like you're pretty well versed in this. So obviously, this is exactly what you do at Smile. And T just asked, is there a way to implement loyalty programs using Wix Stores? Does anybody want to answer that?
I think there's an app called Smile that you
Bingo.
can use.
So it's clear you know what you're talking about. This is really like that. What you just went over, I think should just almost be split up and put in its own video, because it was so rich in information and super valuable for everybody. But Liat, let's make another segue. This is very valuable, and the partners that are learning this, and maybe some who have been doing this for a while, how can our partners actually package this customer retention and loyalty and all of this as a service for their clients?
Sure. So I think it's about figuring out what you're able to provide as a service, what you feel comfortable offering to clients, and then also thinking about your clients' needs and the types of business they have and what might be relevant for them. I definitely would recommend that you kind of break it up into different tiers of packages. So we just put some recommendations here, but obviously you can play around with those however works for you. I think at the very basic level, definitely consultation on customer retention and on strategies for how you can do that is a great way to start. It's a really great way, obviously, to get more leads for bigger business after that. But for a lot of small businesses, that will be enough, right? They just need somebody to point them in the right direction and help them get started. So that in itself is a really great service to offer. And then leveling up a little bit from there, you could offer a complete audit of their online store and going through all of those touch points that already exist and helping them to optimize that and optimize their communications, providing them a report on how they could optimize that customer experience and the buyer journey. And then a stage up would actually be doing all of those optimizations for them, implementing it both in terms of the store and the marketing materials. Also thinking about adding some more of those retention features that we spoke about. So like the live chat on the site, the FAQ pages, the policies, the automations for abandoned cart recovery, maybe even going into those marketing services, adding the Facebook ads from Wix, or doing some of that additional marketing for them. And then the highest tier is going to be creating this really custom branded rewards program, all the great stuff that Tim has been speaking about. So I think from the technical standpoint, it is pretty straightforward. We have the app in the Wix app market. It's fully integrated. It works with the Wix online store. So technically, it's really straightforward. I think the huge value that an agency can bring to their client here is all of that thinking about what the strategy should be, what the real value is that you're bringing, how you're going to price those points, how you're going to get people to keep redeeming them and coming back. And again, that's stuff that a lot of businesses really need help figuring out. So I think that's like the ultimate package that you can offer here.
So that's a great way to sort of break this down into a partner's language, Liat, so it can be something that partners can offer. It's really fantastic. So let's roll back just a second and let's sort of talk about some of the things that we went over. we talked a little bit how the landscape has changed forever with COVID-19 with online retailers, and how Black Friday is going to be a massive, massive online fest. Like Liat was talking about, I did not realize that all these stores are not going to be open, but of course it makes perfect sense. We talked about investing in activities that retain your customers, and that has a much better way of paying off than trying to go get new clients or customers. We talked about customer retention strategies. We talked about creating customer trust and recommending brands that have a solid reward program. And we talked about continually testing, measuring, and optimizing the retention strategies. And Tim, that was an amazing segment there, and how to increase that value over a lifetime with your customers. So this was really awesome. We had some great questions, and most of us, we actually responded and answered those, and I actually called a few out to y'all. But I actually think this is really, really good. Juanita does have one quick question, and I'll throw this out, and then I don't want to extend our time because I know your time is so valuable. And thank both of you. Thank you, both of you, for being here. What is an email marketing automation tool that you can recommend for people who are using Wix stores?
Sure. So I would recommend our Wix automations for that. So if you take a look at Ascend by Wix, that's our CRM suite of tools. So we offer an email marketing tool by Wix, and you can put automations on top of that. We have a couple of pre-made automations specifically for online stores. So one of those is the cart recovery that we spoke about. It's really easy to just go and turn on in the back office of Wix. And you can obviously customize all of the messaging and communication around that. And then we have a couple of other optimizations for stores based on products that your customers have already bought from them. So you can dive a little deeper into that, and we can maybe share some links in the chat. We have information on all of that, but it's all standard Wix functionality.
Pop quiz. What's the percentage of online shoppers that abandon their cart and never return to the retailer site? Pop quiz. 55%. Remember, that was an amazing statistic. So if you don't have some sort of a way to engage the people who are abandoning carts, that's a great tidbit you just dropped right there, Liat. I think we've covered everything. Tim, Liat, I want to say thank you for both of you for coming here and giving us this wealth of information. Tim, is there anything you'd like to say before we hang up?
I don't think so. Thank you guys so much for having me. It was great to chat.
Really glad to have you. Totally our pleasure. Liat, thank you again for sharing all of this knowledge. So thank both of you. And by the way, for those of you who are out there, we'll continue this conversation inside the community. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you out there.